what a nice light way to consider social work and what we bring into that work, and I thought it was something that I hadn't really considered how my spirituality is embedded in my practice. So I was interested because I wanted to explore it for myself, but also I wanted to give some of that out and find out how others viewed their spirituality and how we looked as a collective when that information came together. So I thought, what an interesting piece of research compared to examining social change or government systems, to actually look at us as women and to look at how that is woven into our work.
Any field of social work, you enable people to go through their life and find their life purpose, and enable them to find their own being and own truth.
I feel like social work is still on its way to understanding the realm of spirituality. I think if I look at Māori practice models or ways of working, or I look at Indigenous people's ways of working, often they will take on board a lot of that spiritual aspect and component, and yet as social workers, and for me as a white middle-class social worker, I think there's a lot of that missing, that understanding of spirituality and what it is.
I'm very interested in spirituality. I've been developing that over my lifetime, really, and I find that people don't always understand spirituality because they understand religion, but we don't really have very good words for explaining spirituality, so I'm always interested in articulating that and trying to explain it, and I'd be interested in people having a greater understanding of what spirituality means as opposed to religion.
For me, people's experiences of people with a Christian faith often can be a bit negative because of particular stands and all those sorts of things. So for me, sometimes I don't like to identify with that particular word, because then people have kind of an idea of how I should behave and act, which is not often how I do behave and act.
Spirituality to me is what gives meaning to life, so it's about transcending the day-to-day into the purpose for living and the purpose for being and the purpose for doing what you do, and whatever that might be for you, that's what spirituality is, and it's different for different people. And yeah, the important part is the transcendence, I think, from just doing the dishes and putting the kids at school and to a greater meaning.
The words that are spirituality for me, really, I suppose that God is the most important word, and the peace and silence that come from that connection, and purity, happiness.
I think the words have changed over time for me. I used to think about God, but I no longer think about God. It doesn't have any significance for me anymore. But I kind of think of divine spirit or spirit.
I guess it's that thing about core and essence, being grounded, and basically that I am the centre of how those things all fit together, because how I work is who I am, and so it can't be any other way, I guess. Yeah.
It just goes part and parcel with it, because that's about the integrity of us. That's about our self-determining ourselves and knowing ourselves. It's all about knowing ourselves and where that integrity comes from. Who creates that space for us to have that integrity. And that in the field I find a lot of people don't actually know what that means and what that looks like. What is a spiritual connection? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How does one become that in their lifetime?
It's something that, you know, I've been a part of, I suppose, all of my life, even though I mightn't have always been aware of it. But, you know, certainly I've been very involved in sort of women's spirituality groups and did my own sort of thesis on people's experiences and expressions of spirituality and supervision. So I'm just very interested in the whole topic and how we bring all of ourselves to what we do and how that's great and okay, how it can be celebrated, you know.
I'm not an evangelist. I'm not someone that has a ministry in doing sermons. I'm not, you know, these different gifts that each one has within this church environment. And I'm not any of those. And all I say is, I know myself and I lead by example. And if you catch that,